What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Summer Career Mode. This is episode number 21. We start today's episode off on the back of the signing of Josh Da Silva. 3 new signings in the last episode, all Arsenal Academy graduates. How about that? Joe Willock, Josh Da Silva, and oh no, sorry. Not all three. Tosin Adarabioyo has never played for Arsenal, Doxy boy. Tosin Adarabioyo, former Manchester City Academy graduate. But even so, 2 Arsenal Academy grads coming in and Tosin Adarabioyo as well. I've got to say, for realism right now, I'm really happy with this. We turned down this bid here for Max Aarons from AS Monaco. Decent bid, but as I said before, trying to keep it realistic. I didn't think that was a realistic deal there whatsoever. But even so, I'm really happy with how the window's looking so far. We still got around 22, 23 million pounds in the budget as well. And I would say, the key for me to start this season off was making sure we didn't invest the Olise money into a realistic signing. If you combine the 60 mil we got for Michael Olise, plus the 35 mil we started off with, just shy of 100 mil. I mean, let's be honest here. We could sign a couple of star players with that amount of money and bring in a couple of foreign wonder kids too. But obviously, it wouldn't be realistic, and that is the key of the save. And I know I sound like a broken record when I talk about it, but I think it's important to do that because, FIFA Career Mode is a game mode which is really hard to keep realistic. I can only do my best, but I'd like to think I am doing a pretty good job at the moment. I really would. I would definitely say with the money we've had and what we could have invested that Olise money into, there's no doubt about it, man. I could have Grav and Birch from the middle of my park right now, but would it be realistic? Not really. So yeah, we're keeping it as realistic as possible, and I'm liking that as well. Joe Willock coming in, relegated Newcastle United. Josh Da Silva, relegated Brentford. Tosin Adarabioyo only just survived with Fulham last year in a contract season for him as well. So moving on, definitely a strong possibility. And then you think about Reece Brown, a Football League player. Crystal Palace like those sort of players coming in on a freebie to add some squad depth to the team as well. And Dean Henderson coming in, wants first team football. He's going to stay in Europe and be our number 1 here at Selhurst Park. Yeah, I'd say right now we've done a really good job in terms of realism. Long may it continue. So yeah, for the first game of today's episode, the first game of the new season, travelling to Ellen Road, Jesse Marsh's Leeds United, heading into the game. Well, now with no Michael Olise up top, this guy's going to be a starter. A Eze last year had staggered game time in this team. Consistency was something Eze never had last year. He was either on the bench or in a starting 11, but you never knew what it was going to be game after game. Now that Olise's gone to Old Trafford, I was said to the former QPR man, now's your time, bro. Zaha on the left, you're on the right. Now is your time to replace Michael as our starter in the front three. He scored the opening goal of the season. He made it 1-0, but right before full time, clinging on to an opening day victory. Wouldn't you just know it? Those late goals in FIFA are a killer. And this is what Barcelona can come to expect. Rafinha. I mean, I tell you what, like Leeds fans, I think all Leeds fans would say this. Go to see Rafinha go. But to have him for a couple of years, he scored from the spot on the final day against Brentford last season in their survival game on match day 38. I think they can be really happy with what Rafinha brought to the club for a couple of years. It's such an awesome talent, Rafinha, and I'm really excited to see how he gets on at Barcelona. Did you see the goal he scored in pre-season as well? Absolute belter, Rafinha. He's a great talent, and obviously they've lost Rafinha. They've lost Calvin Phillips. It's a tough one to take for Leeds United fans. Losing a homegrown boy and a great young midfielder in Calvin Phillips. But, going to Manchester City, can you blame him? Absolutely not. Rafinha, an amazing winger, absolute star player. But can you blame him going to Barcelona? Absolutely not. Leeds will be gutted to lose 2 of their best players in one window. But when you think about going to Man City and Barcelona, and for the fees they got for both clubs as well, I think for Phillips was around 42 mil. I think Rafinha was around the same. You're looking at over 80 million pounds for both of those clubs. That's a really good return for those 2 star players for Leeds. Go for the fans, of course, but I've got to say, fair play for the years of service they gave them. Yeah, no doubt about it. I think they can both. I think they wish both of those players well at their new clubs. Even so, we drew the game 1-1. Rafinha with the late leveler still there in the game. We had another bid for Max Aarons coming in the game as well. He's in hot demand this year. Max Aarons. Inter Milan wanted him. And whilst I didn't think the Monaco deal was very realistic, this one to me wouldn't be too unrealistic. Inter Milan, of course, they like a few English players. Obviously, Ashley Young was playing for them not too long ago, lest we forget. I wouldn't be against selling Max Aarons to the San Siro, but unfortunately the deal just wasn't good enough for me. Max Aarons is 79 rated and in his early 20s. You're not even going to give me £30 million when he's got 4 years left on his contract? Get out of here, Inter Milan. He's worth more than that. Come on now. I'll be doing you a favour if I sold him for 30 mil to you. Instead, they weren't going to match the transfer fee I was asking for. 30 mil, you can't cough that up. Get out of here. He's worth more than that in my opinion. But even so, I was going to make a new signing after the draw to Leeds on the opening day. And I thought again, keeping it realistic, this would make sense. Bryan Mbeumo, relegated with Brentford. We just brought in a teammate of his in De Silva, 23 years old, 77 rated, and he's a French right winger. Didn't Crystal Palace just sign a French right winger from a championship side in Michael Olise? Yeah, I thought this was quite realistic. Bryan Mbeumo, good enough to be playing in the Premier League, of course. 77 rated, 23 years old. And I know I had to spend a few mil over the valuation to get him. He still has a few years left in his contract, but for £20 million, was it 19 or 20 mil? One of the two, plus a sell-on clause as well. Bryan Mbeumo is in to replace Michael Olise. Now, I really like the kid, Raksaki. I do. But now that Eze is going to be a starter, we don't have a good quality winger on the bench. Bryan Mbeumo would be that guy. For the fee we paid, I'd say it's reasonable. And again, 4-star skill moves, very quick, technically fantastic, hard-working player with high work rates, and a left-footed player too. I mean, as a replacement for Michael Olise, yeah, realistic with a relegated side. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Probably the most realistic replacement we could get for Michael Olise. Bryan Mbeumo is in, and not quite as good as Olise, a few years older as well, probably less potential too, but to me, I think that's a really good, realistic replacement. Yeah, it was 20 mil. Realistic replacement for Michael Olise. But I think I'll still start Eze. I do. I know that Eze's right-footed and Mbeumo's left-footed, so on that right-hand side, Eze cutting in to shoot, he'll be on a weaker left foot. But I still think I'll keep Eze as my starter and have Mbeumo coming off the bench. So, yeah, Mbeumo in, £20 million. And talk about your carbon copy replacements. One French winger gets sold, one French winger with a left foot comes in as well. You love to see it. Even so, for the second of 3 games in today's episode here, as our budget is now all but gone after the signing of Mbeumo, Everton, first game at Selhurst Park this season, taking on the Toffees who last season finished in a European spot, taking on Frank Lampard's side now. First game at Selhurst Park, my 50th in charge of Crystal Palace. Well, heading into the game, you always want to win your first home game of the season. I often talk about, you want to set the tone right from the get-go in front of your home fans. Win the first game, whoever you face, and try and start off retaining your fortress as it is. We were 1-0 down inside the first 20 minutes. Really, really tough start. But 22 minutes in, we were back on level terms. Joe Willock in to replace Conor Gallagher. Would he be as good as the Chelsea man? Well, only time will tell, but to me, if he can score quite a few goals like Gallagher did last season, pick up a few assists as well, I'll be more than happy with a signing coming in from Newcastle for £22 million. Willock with the goal, 1-1, his first goal for the club in his second appearance in our first game at Selhurst Park this season. You love to see it. So 1-1, and after we got the leveller, momentum totally switched. It was all Crystal Palace between then and half-time, and 41 minutes in, oh, dream debuts. You love to see it. He's in to replace Michael Olise. Bryan Mbeumo, literally just signed, first appearance at Selhurst Park, from the Bees to the Eagles, and Bryan Mbeumo gets his first in a Crystal Palace shirt. He'll be fighting with Eze to be a starter in this team, and he's just scored his first goal at Selhurst Park. Palace 2, Everton 1, and then 7 minutes after the restart, we attack the second half, like how we did in the first as well. A Brecci Eze with 2-2, and this is a huge year for Crystal Palace, but for this man as well, a Brecci Eze replacing Michael Olise. Can he be as good as the former Reading man, now getting that 60 million move to Old Trafford? Well, not a bad start, is it? 2 goals in 2 games. It's Crystal Palace 3, Everton 1. The Toffees wouldn't give up though, and with 10 minutes on the clock, Alexander Isaac gets an assist to Sangari, makes it 3-2. The Toffees trying to give us a late scare here and rally back like Leeds did on the opening day. Thankfully, the goal counted as nothing other than a consolation. Final score in South East London, Crystal Palace 3, Everton 2. Gutted we couldn't hold on to the win against Leeds. I'd have been back-to-back wins to start the season off, but I'll take it. 4 points from 6 and a win in our first home game of the campaign as well. And also our new signings after a fantastic start. Joe Willock and Brian Mbeumo both getting goals in their first games at Selhurst Park. You love to see it. 3-2 the final score, and great to start off our home form this season with a win. I talk about it a lot, you got to target, you got to target your first home game of the season, set the tone. Great to start off with a win, really happy to get it. Another bid from MacArthur though, look at this, Salernitana from the Serie A now putting in a bid alongside Basel and Bochum and Randers. The amount of European clubs that want to sign James MacArthur, but I'm not going to sell him now. I want to get rid of him. He's 35 years old in the final year of his deal on a high wage. I want to get rid of him, but again, it's got to be realistic. Can you see MacArthur at Salernitana? Yeah, not really. But even so, hopefully we'll get a realistic bid before the transfer window slams shut with just a couple of weeks to go. Even so, our final game was an EFL Cup second round. Blitzed through this pretty quickly, fielded a backup side. Though Zahara McNeil started this game and we won it by a 1-0 against the Owls. Beat Oldham Athletic by a 1-0. Matata with the only goal of the game. 1-0 into third round the EFL Cup. Our fourth and lowest priority this season. I'll be fielding backup sides every step of the way. Nice to get through though, and a decent start for Palace. Draw on the opening day to Leeds, but only for a last minute equaliser, but wins in the EFL Cup second round and against Everton in our first home game as well. Not a bad start at all. Our new signings hitting the ground running with Willock and Mbeumo both getting goals too. Yeah, decent start to the season. Out of a week to go before a transfer window slams shut. Still a little bit of money to work with and still a few players I want to shift on as well. But that will end today's episode of the Realistic Summer Career, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Finish the like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day and I'll see you for the next episode featuring transfer deadline day and the draw for the Europa League group stage as well. Don't miss it. Very soon.